Shalom. I'd like to give all praises to Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua, Waha Kadash Wakah. Double honors to the apostles and the elders that rule well, and peace and blessings to you brothers out there that's kicking this word and sincerity truth. Um, now, we're seeing a growth in opium overdoses here in the U.S. Now there's a strong correlation between the opium epidemic here in the U.S. and the the war on terrorism, if you will, in particular, the war that was waged in Afghanistan. After the U.S. went into Afghanistan and occupied it in 2001, you've seen a huge growth in the production of heroin, man. And so I wanted to read a couple articles for you all, and more importantly, the scriptures, just to show you how, the so-called white man, he uses his media as a means to cover up, his hidden agenda, which is really, to put all these other countries under subjection, and also to run the world with his, with that money, man. And he's doing it, what I'm saying, by wicked ways, if you will, for lack of a better term, man. So this is the drug war. Now this is according to global research.ca. Uh, it says drug war. American troops are protecting Afghan opium. U.S. occupation leads to all-time high heroin production. This article was first published in June 2014. It is well documented that U.S. government has, at least at some times in some parts of the world, protected drug operations. Big banks also launder money for drug cartels. See this, and this. Now, if you click on these tabs, I'll do it for you guys. If you click on these tabs, it has several links to prestigious companies like the LA Times that wrote about how the USBC was linked to drug lords. Uh, Not only them, but it's what's that? Wachovia. Excuse me if I'm saying that wrong. You click on it, and it gives you a whole bunch of references that you could go and just read for yourself. And, yeah, which I won't bore you with that. Um, but yeah, this I like this particular website because it gives you a lot of references, good references. Indeed, drug dealers kept the bank system afloat during the depths of the 2008 financial crisis, and the U.S. drug money laundering is continuing to this day. The U.S. military has openly said that it is protecting Afghani poppy fields. And I was doing a test run. I wanted to play this video for you guys, but it was running so slow. So what I do is I put this video here, just about 2 minutes or so of it, in post production, so you can see uh, the media work is propaganda, man. Because in this video, it's saying that the reason why they're protecting the field is because the uh, the uh, uh the Afghanis, would, I guess, the leading class would cause uproar because they're making so much money, producing opium. So if the America was to come in and shut it down, it would cause an insurrection, which is BS. Again, America went over there and they increased the production of opium, exponentially, which will read as we read, will you know will provide more evidence of that statement.
Welcome back to Fox and Friends. Dave Briggs, he's Clayton Morse, she's Allison Camerata. We're going to head to Afghanistan this morning. One of the biggest obstacles in front of the U.S. troops there in Afghanistan is the opium trade. The Taliban is using it to intimidate the population.
Yeah. Joining us from Helmand Province is Geraldo Rivera. Good morning to you, Geraldo. Tell us what you've seen during your days there in Afghanistan.
Hi, Allison, Dave, and Clayton. Yes, in some ways, the Marines' brilliantly executed invasion of Marja, this town in the middle of Helmand Province, was the easy part. The hard part now is governing this province, a province, as you suggest, that has become addicted to opium in many, many ways. That is the principal crop that is being grown here. The Taliban lend the farmers the money. They are indebted to the Taliban. They have to grow the opium. Now the Marines, in their success, are in a sense a victim of their success, because now the population is, they have these opium fields, and we are tolerating it. We are tolerating the cultivation of the opium because we know that if we were to destroy it now, the population would turn against the Marines, and it would be a real security risk. Let me introduce Lieutenant Colonel Brian Christmas. He's the commanding officer of the 3rd Battalion, 6th Marines. Really a wonderful group of Marines here. I know that you care deeply about this contradiction, the fact that here you have one of the best fighting forces in the world ever mounted, and in a sense you're watching as this opium is being grown. I know it grinds at your gut. How do you deal with it? What are you doing about it?
Well, frankly, this is a part of their culture. So while it might grind in my gut, it's what they do. We provide them security, we're providing them resources, and we're providing them alternatives. And the alternatives are different crops to grow. They're getting the seed and the fertilizer to do it. They can rotate any of their crops that they want. If they want to get rid of their wheat and grow cotton for the winter, they can do that, and we're going to help them do it. So the same thing goes for the poppy.
So you think that, we were at the market, and everywhere we go, they're selling these little devices. Take a shot at this, Greg. They're hand-carved. These are the little devices they use to scrape the opium sap off the plant. And I watched as you bought every one that was for sale because you care so deeply. Why did you do that?
I want them off the street. The idea is that we don't want to harvest the poppy. We want to, hopefully turn the poppy over and put some wheat, cotton, watermelon, cucumber. It's all great stuff they grow out here. We just want to see that come to fruition and the poppy just to go away.
How do you separate the good guys from the bad guys? I watched that checkpoint you had. The cars are out on the road. That's the good news. The bazaars are coming back to life. That's the good news. But I don't know how in the world you tell a Taliban from a guy who just lives in the neighborhood.
You don't. They do. And I'll tell you, the majority of those people are good people. The ones that are bad are really bad, and they've convinced some of the good people to be bad. You can follow that. Bottom line is most of them are on the fence, and it's just a matter of showing them the good, showing them the fact that the Giro government is here. It's going to make a difference, that we're here to help them with that security and those resources, but they're the ones that are going to make the difference. There are a few bad people. The majority of them are good.
But I fault the politicians for putting the Marines in this position, where we can't eradicate these crops for security reasons, and these guys, after winning the war, in a sense, now have to fight this fight. But next year, hopefully, it'll be better. I just want to quickly pan around, see some of the 3rd Battalion, 6th Marines. There's the Master Gunnery Sergeant there, the top ranked enlisted man. Next to him is Captain Black. He had a visit. Quick, who visited you a couple of weeks ago?
Prince Charles came down a couple of weeks ago.
And the Brits like him? I mean, do you guys like him?
Yeah, it's good that he came out, saw the guys, went out to the pubs and engaged with the guys. That was good. Good to come around.
So we had a visit from Prince Charles, and the Marines are doing the good thing. Dave, Clayton, and Allison, back to you guys in New York.
Thank you so much,
Geraldo.
Thanks so much. I mean, he just explains it better than we can ever read in any paper, what a dilemma it is with the opium trade.
And they make so much money off the opium per yard there. They make so much money compared to those other crops. So it sounds great in theory, and Geraldo says this predicament that these politicians have put these guys in to have to tell them, hey, make a lot less money than the heroin you could be making with the poppy.
And they can't destroy it.
Right.
What a difficult position.
All right, in the meantime, I do have your headlines for you.
As Wikipedia notes, opium production in Afghanistan has been on the rise since U.S. occupation started in 2001. Indeed, a brand new report from the United Nations finds that opium production is at an all-time high. Common Dreams notes the cultivation of opium poppy in Afghanistan a nation under the military control of U.S. and NATO forces for more than 12 years, has risen to an all-time high, according to the 2013 Afghan Opium Survey released Wednesday by the United Nations. According to the report, cultivation of poppy across the war-torn nation rose 36% percent in 2013, and total opium production amounted to 5,500 tons, of up by almost a half since 2012. There has never been witnessed before. This has never been witnessed before in the history of Afghanistan, said Jean-Luc Lamai, EU, the outgoing leader of the Afghanistan Office of the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, which produced the report. Now, if you click on this tab here, which I already have it up, um, it gives you more stats. According to the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, now this is official. You know, now let's read more about the production of opium caused by the U.S. occupation. Okay, so this is according to UNODC.org, which is the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. The Afghan Opium Survey was released jointly by the Ministry of Counter Narcotics, ONODC, Country Office for Afghanistan, Independent Directorate of Local Governance and Counter Narcotics Police of Afghanistan, at the uh, Government Media and Inter-Information Center on 15th November in Kabul. According to the latest Afghan Opium Survey, uh, total area under opium cultivation increased by 63% in 2017 to an estimated 328,000 hectares. Now, if you look up this right here, hectares, what are hectares? Now, hectares are basically a little bit over, there we go. It's a little bit over, well, actually, it says a metric unit of square measures equal to 100 acres. So 2.475 acres, or 10,000 square meters. So as you can see, that's a lot of acres, man. You know, that's a lot of acres that has been used. You know what I'm saying, to produce opium, and this is under the rulership, under the occupation of America, man. You see what I'm saying? You see? The majority, 60% of opium poppy cultivation took place in the southern region of the country. The western region accounted for 17% of total cultivation, the northern for 13%, and the eastern for 7%. So these opium fields are everywhere in Afghanistan, and have again increased, substantially under the occupation, or we could go ahead and just be real and just call it what it is, the rulership of America, man. You see what I'm saying? And they're doing, and the reason why they are going over there and controlling these opium fields is really for money. You know what I'm saying? To get funding for their wars. You see, the same thing that they did in the 1980s, dealing with Nicaragua. You see, the remaining regions, northeastern and central, together accounted for 3%. The report also highlighted in an increase of 87% in opium production, 9,000 tons from its 2016 level. You see that? So they produce over there under the rulership of America, which says they are waging a war on drugs. Man, they're allowing 9,000 tons of opium to be produced. And people wonder why there's a opium epidemic here in the U.S. Well, you got the U.S. Using these pharmaceuticals and things of that nature, man, to fund they're getting these opiums to fund their so-called legal drugs. You know what I'm saying? And they're putting the opiums in, these painkillers. You see what I'm saying? And antidepressants. You see? So they got everybody hooked on these over-the-counter drugs, man. You see? All for what? For the funding of war, man. Deputy Minister Jawad Karim in his statement addressed illicit drug trade, a devastating catastrophe for Afghanistan and the world that is closely interlinked with international terrorism. He said global demand for drugs is the core driver of the poppy cultivation in Afghanistan. Additional factors include huge involvement of international precursors traffickers and their strong ties with mafia and transporting the precursors into Afghanistan to convert opium to heroin. Bad security fuels poppy cultivation in Afghanistan, particularly the southern province of Helmand. Despite prevention efforts made in Afghanistan, i.e., increased law enforcement operation, establishment of drug rehabilitation centers, large uh, seizures by the counter narcotics police of Afghanistan, the southern region has yet has yet the country has yet the country's largest share of national opium production. You see, and we can read more about that, which we'll stop right there. But man, it just highlights how the order Abkeo doctrine, man. And again they did the same thing here in the U.S. dealing with cocaine. They cause a problem and they have a solution. They build industries and jobs off of the backs of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans going to jail or selling their product, man. It's a big experiment in which the government um, benefits off of the sale and also the incarceration of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans dealing with drugs, man. You see, that's why we seeing a huge increase in heroin use. Not only in the hood, you have it, in the hood you have kids that are, making tar, cheese, which is what is that? Heroin and cocaine and crack mixed. You know, you see a huge inflation in these over-the-counter drugs that use opium. You see, and the U.S. government is benefiting off of all of this, man. You see what I'm saying? Let's go back to this. The dang on computer. Now, it says, let me go down. There we go. Now it says we left off right on that second paragraph. The U.S. military has allowed poppy cultivation to continue in order to appease farmers and government officials involved with the drug trade who might otherwise turn against the Afghan Qazi government in Kabul, fueling both sides. In fact, the opium and heroin industry is both a product of the war and an essential source for continued conflict. Wow. you know. And again, that's the propaganda that they use. Public intelligence has published a series of photographs showing American and U.S. trained Afghan troops patrolling poppy fields in Afghanistan. Public intelligence informs us that all of the of the photos are in the public domain and not subject to copyright, and they assure me that I have every right to reproduce them. We produce these photos in the accompanying description from public intelligence without further comment. And and then he goes on to show you uh, it's a whole bunch of photos, man. Look at that. You're sitting in the field, you know. Look at this. It's opium field. It's an opiums, poppy fields, you know. And they got U.S. Troops over there monitoring these fields, man. Why is that? Because it's big production. It's big business, man. You know, you know. Look at this. This is the wickedness of the so-called white man. You know, the white man's he's being found out. He's a liar, man. So let's get to these scripts now. Now this is Daniel 8:25, and through his policy, also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand. And he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. I want to really emphasize that first part of that verse. It says through his policy. Now let's look up that word policy, you know, because it goes into perfectly what we're talking about. Now it's shakal, prudence, insight, understanding, prudence, good sense, insight, understanding, cunning, craft, and advances, and that's what we're seeing with his intelligence. You know, he's causing craftiness to prosper on the world in the world, man. You know, it's funny because you know he does the same thing, but he uses different proper he uses different stories and dealing with his propaganda in order to present it to the masses. So you know something like uh the war in the Middle East, you wouldn't think there was a correlation between the war on drugs here in the U.S. and what this man has done. But as you can see, you know that's exactly what's going on. You see what I'm saying? That's exactly what's going on, man. You know, he uses that same prudence in order to put the people under subjection and countries under subjection, man. You see? Now, let's look up that word craft. Let's look up that word craft. And it's ma rama, and it means deceit, treachery. And that's what you're seeing, man, with his prudence. He's allowing treachery to or deceit to prosper in the land, man. You see what I'm saying? You know, he has all these different countries under subjection through his policies. You know what I'm saying? Through that craft, man. You see? Now this is Psalms 64:2. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. Now, if you look up this word insurrection, it means basically a uprising. you know, an uprising or a rebellion, which is I thought this is very intriguing. You know what I'm saying? Insurrection, a violent uprising against an authority or government. Let's read that again. It says, "Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity." People rising up. You know what I'm saying? And hey, and that's what the so-called white man does, man. He funds all these different proxy wars for his hidden agenda. You see that going on, and chiefly right now in Syria, man. You see, funding ISIS. You know what I'm saying? Funding all these military these militaries that was opposite of the Syrian government. I forget the correct name for it, so excuse me. But I know it's pretty much synonymous with ISIS. You see what I'm saying? Uh, uh, who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. And that's what he does with his policies. You know what I'm saying? With his bitter words, man, he's able to shoot at the perfect, you know, which is who? Yashala, the prince of the power of Israel. You know what I'm saying? Us, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. You know, he shoots us in secret and fears not, man. He put different chemicals and also uh, different philosophies that are detrimental to our existence. You know what I'm saying? Within these book in these schools, you see what I'm saying? In order to destroy us, man. You see, they encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily. They say, "Who shall see me? See them." They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search, but both the inward thoughts of every one of them and the heart is deep. But the Most High shall shoot at them with an arrow. Certainly shall they be wounded. So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away, and that's what you're seeing. Hey man, it says in the scriptures that sanctify them with their truth. That word is truth, and that's what we're seeing, man. You know what I'm saying? Those of us that's in the know, hey, we're being sanctified with the understanding of, chiefly with understandings of these scriptures, and also with knowledge, man. You know, you got Edomites rising up against Edomites, and what they doing? Hey man, they're exposing themselves, man. You know, so this is a beautiful thing, man. The Most High is now shooting at them, and He's going to ultimately shoot at them when He calls them to wage war on each other, man. You see what I'm saying? And to destroy one another. You see? So this is a beautiful thing. I just want to bring this out, man. This information. Hope Most High willing it was edifying. I want to give all praises to Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua. Double honors to the apostles and the elders that rule well. And peace and blessings to you brothers out there that's kicking this word in sincerity and truth. Shalom.